Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me today. And as you know, I'm Greg Ballard, and I'm running for Secretary of State as an independent. Voting is one of the most important things we do as Hoosiers. But how many times have you walked into the voting booth and seen a name or an office you weren't familiar with? For most of us, that's a common experience. But it is not just the candidates. This November, we'll also be voting on 2 amendments to the Indiana Constitution. Almost no one knows that. And that's exactly the kind of thing that should not take you by surprise on Election Day. Also, we know that one of Indiana's most challenging problems is low voter turnout. And today, I am unveiling the state's first printed voter's guide prototype and a new mobile application to help address those problems. Multiple studies show a more informed voter is more likely to go to the polls and cast their ballot. Long lines on Election Day act as a major deterrent, often causing voters to leave without participating. My team has put together what we believe is the first state-sponsored printed voter's guide with precinct-level data. I've talked about this, but as you can see, this isn't just a campaign promise. We've already built it, so you can see it for yourself. The demonstration copy we've created shows the information for my own precinct in Boone County. It includes a sample ballot that you can mark ahead of time and bring into the booth with you. And if you'd rather have it on your phone, we've also made a digital version of the guide or an app that you can use instead. Either way, it saves you time when you go vote, and it cuts down the wait for everyone in the line behind you. No Hoosier should ever walk into the voting booth feeling unprepared to cast their ballot. And no one should stay home because they didn't have time to learn who or what would be on that ballot. When I'm Secretary of State, that won't happen. Each registered voter would receive a printed voter's guide mailed to their home for each general election with customized information for all of the races on their ballot. Not their friends, not their mothers, theirs. The voter's guide includes candidate information, polling locations, and guidance on ballot questions or constitutional amendments. It also provides information on what to do if your right to vote is challenged at the polls. You can either take the printed version or the app into the booth with you, so you have this important information at hand. The app also works with Google Maps integration to show early and Election Day voting locations. And users can easily use their own phone's map apps to get directions to those locations. From the map app, you can also even get the one-tap calendar reminder for Election Day or for early voting. I want to be clear, this is the demonstration guide and not something that every voter has access to yet for their own ballot. But it was built using real information from my own precinct in Boone County, not placeholder data, so that people could see what the real thing looks like. We are delivering. We are delivering. We need to do better as a state when it comes to informing voters on their choices and make it easier for people to exercise their right to vote. And with this voter's guide, every Hoosier can see exactly what they'll get if they vote for me for Secretary of State. More information at gregballard.com/guide. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, one thing that what was about voter turnout and not being low isn't so much that voters have information, it's uncontested races. The contest where I agree with you out.
I didn't hear it.
The theory is that what drives voter turnout is usually contested races, what's the DR,
right.
that kind of thing. So I suppose the question is, how does this increase voter turnout?
We think it increases voter turnout because people now have information. See, people don't know what they're going to vote on and decide on election day not to go for it. I think we're also taking care of that other part of that equation with contested races. Certainly this year, and we want to do that into future years with more contested races so that voters have more choices. Today we're addressing the first one, but as you're seeing in this election and in the future elections with what we're doing, we'll have more contested races into the future. So I think we're going to address both sides of that question.
Can you talk about
how much would doing something like this cost to the state?
So there's a very detailed cost analysis done by us. I'll give you the short version of it. $2.5 million on average, which is a penny for every $100 the state spends. It's also about 6, 7, 8 days of interest that the state makes on a daily basis. So you give me 6, 7, 8 days, it pays for this also. So it's very simple. It's certainly doable. And considering that most people go into the voting booth today with a little idea how they're going to vote when they get in there, and they take a lot of time to try to figure this out and who is this person. Oh, because the voter's guide also tells you what the office does, which is pretty important. So if you look at it ahead of time, pull off the ballot sheet on the back, take it into the booth or use your app, it's all right there. $2.5 million to $3 million is what it's going to cost, depending on the year. But it's not overly expensive at all. It really isn't.
Would this require an additional appropriation from the legislature?
We're hoping not, but it might. It would be helpful if they did that. But I'm suggesting to you that Indiana has never seen anything like this before. Not to this level of detail. Never seen anything like it. And the voters will love this because they'll get it ahead of time, or they can get it from the app. They've never seen this before. We've worked with lots of people to do this, and got to this precinct level of data, which is, I think, remarkable. But with technology today, this is not that difficult. The putting together piece is not the cost. It's obviously the printing and distribution. So.
There's talk of independence of the office and partisanship in the office. How do you ensure that a voter guide like this would also kind of become partisan?
Well, you can look through this and you'll see that everything in here is very nonpartisan. It's very nonpartisan. And that's what we're going to do. Once in office, I'm completely independent. I'm out of politics. I'm not endorsing anybody. I'm not donating to anybody. I'm not fundraising for anybody. I'm out of it completely. And I think that's what every Secretary of State should be doing. We've seen in the last month just how partisan the office has been, especially with the recount commission. That has to change. That absolutely has to change. This voter guide will not be that way. It will not be that. It will be completely nonpartisan. In fact, the candidates will give us their own statements to put in here next to their picture. They can put their own statements there. They'll be soliciting that from the candidates.
What's the criteria for determining that the voter guide will be a success? $3.5 million is still a lot of money. So how are you going to determine that appropriation is worthwhile?
We'll see if there are more people come to the poll or if there's satisfaction with the voter's guide. But I'm suggesting to you, they've never seen this before, and I think it will help tremendously as you go into office, when you go into the ballot box. It's just so important for people to be informed. This is the most sacred right in the U.S. government. It is. This is what made us different 250 years ago. Self-governance, the people choosing your leaders. We don't inform the voters enough to choose their leaders. We just don't do that as well as we could, and we should do that from the Secretary of State's office.
Sir, do you know if any other states or even large municipalities do something like this? Like, is this?
Some do. Yes, some do. No question. I'm not sure the number. I want to say 16 or 17, something like that. But not to this level. Not to this level. Not to the precinct level. Not with integration with Google Maps and all those other things. Because technology today, I like to say this term all the time, flattens everything. So putting it together, there's some detail to it, but you can put it together at a low cost. It's the printing and distribution that will be the main cost.
The is there anything in here you decided not to put in that you had a discussion and said we're not going to include?
No, I don't think, as I recall, no. I think we kept trying to see what else do people want or would want in this thing. Particularly, you know, sometimes there are things happen at the poll, in the voting booth with the poll workers. Not often, but it does. And people don't know what to do. This tells you what to do. So I think that's an important piece of this. Also, there's never a comment. You got to go find something about the voters, about the candidates. This is going to be given to you. This is going to be pushed out to you. You don't have to go find it. It'll be pushed out to you. That's a big change. At location, when you can vote, the different ways to vote, all of that is in there. All the candidates are in there. It's all in there, and it's at a level that we don't think any state's ever done before. And it's prototyped right now. This is not going to happen. It has happened. We just have to execute it if the state goes forward with it.
What are the plans for distribution?
Every registered voter.
In mail?
In the mail, and plus the app will be available. Even if you have 2 registered voters in the house, they're each getting one. It's not by address, it's by registered voter.
Sorry to hang on this partisanship question, but to what extent would you fact check the voter guide? We obviously do voter guides as well.
Sure.
And one of the things that happens is you get statements from politicians that are not true. So it's reserved space for a politician. To what extent is the Secretary of State able to say, no, we can't publish that because that statement isn't right?
That's a great question. As people say untrue things about me pretty often, but that's fine. I mean, that's part of the game. But that's a really good question. I'm suggesting to you that there will be nonpartisan people looking at these things to make sure that's okay. I don't think we'll allow them to talk about anybody else. They'll be able to talk about themselves, if that helps. We don't want them bashing anybody else because they're only going to get like 150 words, something like that. It's not going to be. They're not going to get a statement, a big statement. It's going to be like probably around 150 words.
Mr. Mayor, just to change up a little bit, the White House, Supreme Court, done from the executive order regarding mail-in ballots, mail-in voting, saying we won't post office won't deliver mail-in ballots unless a list has been sent. Any thoughts on that and what to do for voter participation?
I read several articles about that yesterday. I thought that was pretty interesting. General consensus, I think, was that this is the first inning of a 9-inning game as we move forward. But I'm very open about the fact that I think states should maintain their own data. I didn't like it when our voter data went up to the federal government. I was not a fan of that at all. Very open about that. I think states should be running their own elections and make sure they do it right. That's right. That's generally how I feel about that.
Voters, but you tell members to put about plans to get people who are not registered to do so. Talk a little more about what you do in that round.
Thanks, Anna. A little early in the game right now, and we expect more announcements in the future. I'll put it that way. So yes, we're looking at that also. We're looking at several things that we'll be announcing. Things that we think because we think the Secretary of State's office needs to be a driver of this. The fact that we haven't even thought of something like this, to me, is a failure. And the Secretary of State's office, there are several things we can do better than has been in the past. Some might require legislation, some don't. But I just think we need to look at what we've been doing and what we have not been doing that other states are doing across the nation.
One more question. Could you talk about the technical question, fail-safes to make sure, let's say that if someone gets mailed the wrong guy, let's say it has an incorrect ballot, but let's say the app stops working, could you talk about what the officer do
Yeah.
that doesn't happen?
We'll have the ability for people to call in if they need to. Clearly, we're going to do that. I certainly, as the former mayor, I know how to set those things up anyway. But I'm not suggesting everything's going to be perfect first time out. Nothing ever is the first time out. But I think with the technology today, I think we'll have a smooth rollout on this. Actually, I think it'd be very easy to do a smooth rollout. Will there be hiccups here and there? People moved, people changed their names. There will be things like that that might affect that. But generally speaking, I think it'd be a pretty smooth rollout, frankly.
Mr. One last one. You've been attacked online for your mayor. People say you raise taxes. The other criticism is you wouldn't denounce, boys playing girl sports. I've
been very clear about that. Really clear about that. I suggest to you that all 4 candidates have said essentially the same thing on that issue. But if I raise taxes 140 times, I was like, what is that? Like every third day I must have been doing something like that? I don't remember any of that stuff. I have no idea. I have no idea where they get their data on that stuff, but not all. But I'm not planning to bring that up too much. I don't think I will, only if asked. We're just going to do things like this. I find it fascinating that none of the candidates, other than me, are actually talking about the Secretary of State's office. None of them. You can see their commercials. You can see what they're putting out on emails. Nobody's talking about the Secretary of State's office and what they're going to do in the office except me. And we're going to continue to do that.